Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of More Grace. The reason that we've started this video series is to basically give you a bite-sized portion of what we discuss in our sermons on Sundays, and to basically give you an encapsulated version and something that you can discuss a little bit more deeply at home with your family or with friends. And so with that in mind, we wanted to, again, just give a truncated version of what the sermon is and look at one major point, and then to give some discussion questions. We do include some worship music that you can listen to prepare your hearts, or sometimes the worship music may also be as a way of responding also. There will be timestamps below where you can skip ahead if you'd want to just get to the message, or if you wanted to get to the questions, or if you just wanted to listen to the music, but we're glad that you're engaging with us today. So something that I wanted to talk about today was just around how we balance faith and work. We touch upon it a little bit in Daniel, but I think if we focus in on Daniel's example and who he is in the narrative, we can see a little bit of what can help to inform us in terms of work and school. I think this is a question that we find ourselves asking all throughout our lives, but also throughout history. How do Christians balance work and faith? And if you're a student, whether you're still in public school or whether you're in university or post-secondary education, this is a question for you as well. How do we balance our faith and our studies, our faith and being a student in this world? And I do think that Daniel offers some really great examples here. One of the things that I find that we could start to think about is that idea of even the wording. How do we balance work and faith? How do we balance school and faith? And one of the ways that I would think that we need to start off with is to think about our foundation or our roots of who we are. Part of our identity as Christians is that when we receive Jesus Christ, when we're called to faith, we are called children of God. That is our identity. And so I'd hope that that root, that foundation, is what basically is our principle for then how we live. It's our core of who we are that should bleed into or color all aspects of our lives, that our faith really does kind of seep into everything that we do. So it's not really about, my faith is over here and then my work and school are over here, and how do I overlap them? But in a sense, because of just who we are, we bring it into wherever we go. We bring our faith into whatever situation we're in, whether at school, whether at work, whatever we're doing. Hopefully our faith is coloring into how we make those decisions. Even take, for example, on my drive here, I do think about this. Am I driving in a way that is also revealing the identity of Christ in my life? Elias and I, my son, we have this conversation. Today he was getting really angry at some of the people in front of us and the cars in front of us. And I realized, what type of job am I doing in terms of seeing my faith at work, even as I drive? But from that example to work to school, it is something that faith hopefully does color into everything that we do. So let's take a look at a couple of ways that Daniel shows us how faith and work, how it really comes together. In Daniel chapter 1, we see that Daniel and his friends, they are forcibly removed from their homes. I can't even imagine what that must have been like as a young man. They're forced to learn a new language, a new culture, and they're forced into a different type of work. In their homeland, work, culture, faith, all of these things were intertwined. For an example, Sabbath rest, taking a day off of work, that was built into their normal rhythm of life. It was part of their faith to take a rest. This is what God had told them to do, and so they did. But now here they are in a new situation. What are they going to do? Are they going to just basically sequester themselves? Are they going to just make their own little group and stay within that group? Or how could they remain faithful to the Lord in a strange and hostile land? And so Daniel and his friends, they did draw a line. They said, thus far, but no farther. And they were able to maintain their faith while also excelling in their work. God was faithful to them, and they were able to excel in the things that they were doing and able to serve the king in all that he was asking them to do, while also staying faithful to God. That's a big deal. I know for some of us, we're caught in situations where maybe we feel like, how do I stay with integrity here, but also how do I maintain my work? And that is a big question, and something that I think that we do have to wrestle through and ask God for help in. So I don't have any easy answers with that, but it is something where our faith does have to inform how we are at work, how we are at school. It is a big thing where, how will you maintain your integrity and those types of things? Daniel was able to do it. Daniel was able to excel, and he was able to serve, and he was able to remain faithful. The second thing that we notice in Daniel chapter 6, if we skip ahead, Daniel is now older. He's established some spiritual rhythms in his life, some habits, some disciplines. And one of those is that he prays 3 times daily. And so he goes to his prayer place and he's praying, and the workplace jealousy starts to occur. And, I know that this happens in workplaces today and in schools today, that if you start to excel or if you start to shine a little bit, people are there to try to take you down. This was the case with Daniel. So what was he going to do? Because now it affected his faith. There was a new decree, no prayer except to the king. Well, Daniel, in his rhythm, in his spiritual practice, he goes about his ways to maintain his faithfulness. Not in a way that was showy. He wasn't showing off, and not in a way that was abrasive. If you look at Daniel chapter 6, he doesn't make a big stink about it. He doesn't go to those who were opposed to him and shove it in their faces and saying, this is what I'm going to do for the Lord. No, instead, he goes to his quiet place. He goes to that second floor, not in a super public way, but he just privately, humbly, and courageously maintains his faith in that way. He gets caught. He has to suffer the consequences. But what we see with faith and work, even in that situation, is something that can inform us too. We don't have to be showy. We don't have to show off with our faith. We don't have to be abrasive. We don't have to push it in people's faces either. But we can be humble, we can be steadfast, and we can be courageous as well in the ways that God is calling us to be. So no easy answers here, but I think that Daniel does show us some small glimpses of what it can be to be faithful at work and to our walk with the Lord. And I hope this helps as well as challenges us today. One last thing I wanted to leave you with was this, is that God is faithful to us. We may fail him in all sorts of ways every day in our trying to be faithful to him. But in this narrative, what we see is God is faithful to Daniel and his 3 friends, and God is faithful to us as well. And in response, then we are faithful to him. And so it's always God moving towards us, and we respond back to his love, his faithfulness, his grace towards us. And so with that in mind, here are 3 questions for us to consider this week. The first one is this: just as Daniel was gifted and had certain abilities, what are ways that God has gifted you? What are the specific abilities that he's gifted you with in your life? And how can you bring that into your workplace? The second question is, what has been difficult about being faithful in your workplace, at school at this time? And the third question is, what is one area in your life that you can be faithful in right now? So I hope this has been a challenging message for you, and one that can help you think through your faith at this time. I hope you enjoy this series of More Grace.
Your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. will sing of the goodness